Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our Autism Training and Technical Assistance November webinar. Thank you all for joining us. As we get started this morning, I want to go through a couple housekeeping items. But first, my name is Amy Julian. I'm the director for the Illinois Center for Specialized Professional Support at Illinois State University, and that is where we have the Autism Training and Technical Assistance Project, which is a project supported by the Illinois State Board of Education. As we get started this morning, all of the attendees are in listen-only mode, so you are currently muted. If you have questions, we invite you to post those into the question box. So if you toggle down, you should be able to see the question box pop up, and you can post questions there. We will be pausing throughout the recording for any questions. In addition, if you feel that your microphone is working and able, you can raise your hand and we will happily unmute you and have you ask questions in that manner. In addition, this session will be recorded and the PowerPoint will be shared. So once we wrap up today, you'll be receiving an email tomorrow with a certificate of attendance. In addition to that, you will have a link to both the recording and the PowerPoint presentation. So with that, I want to start off by saying that I am so very excited to have Karrie Pece with us today. She is from Autonomy Works, which is a phenomenal organization located in the northern part of the state, and you might have just seen them on 60 Minutes. They did have a great session done on 60 Minutes. So with that, I am inviting Karrie to come and speak about employer engagement and what it looks like for Autonomy Works. So Karrie, the floor is yours.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Amy, and it's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. If you can't hear me at any point, let me know. I am working with a headset and some technical difficulties this morning, so hopefully I am able to come through clearly, but happy to repeat any information if it does not. So we'll go ahead and get started. Wanted to introduce you all to Autonomy Works and start off with an introduction of myself. My name is Karrie Pece. I am the Director of Talent and Operations at Autonomy Works. I've been a part of Autonomy Works since day one. So we started about 8 years ago. We'll be 8 years old in January. And we've grown from, I think we started with 2 associates to we've got just about 40 staff members right now. Our team is all working remotely during the pandemic, but typically we are all together in our office location in Downers Grove, about 100 yards off of the BNSF train station at the Belmont station in Downers Grove. I've spent my career focused on helping individuals with disabilities to achieve employment opportunities. Prior to joining Autonomy Works, I was with the LaGrange Area Department of Special Education as a vocational counselor. I am a certified rehabilitation counselor by training and have an executive education background in social impact strategy and human resource management. I'm responsible for the day-to-day business operations at Autonomy Works, meaning I oversee all of the people and all of the work that gets done here on a day-to-day basis. And when I'm not focused on Autonomy Works, which is not a whole lot of time, but I like to learn anything and anything that I can. I like to decorate cakes, and I really enjoy reading. So just a little bit of a brief introduction about me. I'm very excited to be talking with this group of professionals today and to talk with you a little bit more about who we are as a business, how we conduct training and assessment of the individuals that work for Autonomy Works. And then really I'd like to answer any questions that you have and provide any type of knowledge or information sharing that I can to help your practices and your specific areas of interest. So very much looking forward to hearing from all of you and what you're curious about and how Autonomy Works can best help. So we have one mission at Autonomy Works, and that mission is to change the way the world views people with autism. You can see here, as Amy mentioned, we were recently featured on 60 Minutes. So we got to the exclusive pleasure of meeting with Anderson Cooper before the pandemic hit, and we were hopeful that we were going to still be featured after the pandemic hit and before the election ran and everything. So we did have that pleasure of being featured early October, and a handful of our associates that you can see here in the photo had the opportunity to share their stories with the world and really explain to the world that they have an incredible skill, an incredible set of skills and talents to share. By way of a little bit of background, we're going to talk about the business. So what is it exactly that we do? Sometimes people will ask us, hey, is Autonomy Works a training program? Are you a job placement agency? Are you a transition center? What exactly is Autonomy Works? And Autonomy Works is a business. We are a for-profit company. We're actually a benefit corporation, so we're able to have a dual interest in both serving our mission and making a profit. Even though we are not a profitable entity yet, we are structured as a for-profit entity. But we are focused on working directly with clients. And for the purposes of our conversation here today, clients are our business partners. So these are large organizations and companies that are willing to and agreeing to pay us money to do contract work for them. Autonomy Works hires everyone directly to work for us. So sometimes people ask, well, do you place people in organizations? Do you go to the organizations and build teams within the organizations? We do not. We have a single service center in Downers Grove, and all of our employees work for us directly. By way of background, Autonomy Works was founded 8 years ago, come this upcoming January. And the inspiration for Autonomy Works here in the photo, you can see this is Matthew, and Matthew is Dave's son. Dave is our founder and CEO, and Dave's son, Matthew, has autism. About 10 years ago, when Dave and his wife, Diane, began to think about what is it that Matt's going to do after high school and after the transition program, they really started to explore career opportunities and jobs and found what I'm sure most of you are familiar with, that the unemployment rate of people with autism is greater than 80%. And while Matt was really good at some things and was going to have a set of skills to offer the working world, he probably wasn't going to be successful in a traditional college experience or necessarily in a traditional employment setting. So it was at that time that Dave decided that he was going to give Autonomy Works a try and to create a business that was going to be centered around the skills and talents of people with autism. It was at that point that Dave and I met each other. I was working for the Transition Cooperative at the time, and he came to us in LaGrange and said, hey, I'm thinking about an idea for a business, and I'm wondering if you have any students that we can try the business out with. And at that time, of course, as the employment specialist, I said, absolutely. We've got a handful of students that we would love to have try out your idea for a business. And the rest, as they say, is history. So what do we do at Autonomy Works? We work with large organizations to help eliminate complexity in 3 main areas: data management, transaction processing, and quality assurance. And we do that by unlocking the talents of people with autism. So as I'm sure most of you all know here, many people with autism excel at delivering support to businesses that has to do with exceptional attention to detail, an affinity for repetitive work, an obsession for quality and accuracy, and many people with autism bring that keen math, technical, and analytical skills to the workforce. There are nearly 50,000 people entering the workforce every year with autism, 500,000 in the next decade, and we know that the employment crisis is going to continue to grow, and we are hopeful that Autonomy Works will not just serve as a place to employ people directly, but really we want to serve as a case study and as an example for other people and other businesses to be able to hire more people with autism and to really make that impact as worldwide as possible. We work with large organizations, as I mentioned. Many of them are on the digital advertising side. So our founder's background was in digital advertising, and that's where we started with many of our initial contacts and clients. We have started to go and grow outside of this area. We're looking at companies in the healthcare industries, in finance, in law, and really starting to grow and expand our service offerings beyond the digital marketing realm. But there are characteristics to the type of work that we do, and these capabilities really cross industries. So if you think about things like transaction processing, this is things like financial claims processing or auditing and validating data that comes through a company. So for example, if we think about, we recently did a project with 50,000 invoices that needed to be audited. And our team was responsible for looking at the content of those invoices and auditing and collecting the data that the client requested off of those invoices. It was a very step-by-step project. It followed a set of rules, and we were able to put it into a process where our team of associates was able to excel at that work. Another piece of work that we do is what we call quality assurance. Really, this has to do with website and content validation. So for example, one of our clients that we do work for is Nissan, the Nissan car company. And Nissan has 1,200 dealerships nationwide. Now, corporate Nissan requires that all 1,200 of those dealers adhere to brand compliance, to pricing compliance, and to some general regulations and rules that they've set forth from a corporate standpoint. So our team of associates goes through and reviews several thousand websites a month to monitor those websites for brand compliance and content. So they may be looking at a 4-door white trim, all-wheel drive turbo engine car, and Nissan says that car cannot be advertised at less than $20,000. Our team will go and find that car on the website, and they will capture the price and confirm or deny whether or not that price meets Nissan's regulations. So we do that for many different car brands, Mazda, Hyundai, Nissan, and really are looking across all of the different websites, looking for things like language requirements, branding, colors, logos, wording, and all those little details that are very important to the brand and that they want to make sure each of their dealers are in compliance with. And then really the third large area of work that we do across all of the industries we work in is data management. So there are data and more data, and data sets are coming from everywhere and multiple platforms, and it can be very confusing and very time consuming to aggregate that data from multiple different sources, platforms, and systems. A lot of the technologies that exist right now are not great aggregators. So for example, if a client is using the Google Suite, they are only able to gather data from Google Suite products, and they're not able to cross over into Adobe or into Bing, and that data has to be manually aggregated together into daily reports, weekly reports, monthly reports that help clients drive decisions based on data. And what our team does is we focus on taking all of that setup work, all of that back office type of repetitive work that the clients need, and we provide the clients with something that they can use to drive decisions in their day-to-day business efforts. I think it's important for us to note here, because sometimes people will say, so does that mean you only work in the black and white? While we certainly work best in something that is more black and white, we do not require our clients' processes and systems to be black and white in order to work with them. Many of our team members are able to adjust and to make decisions based on sets of qualifiers and boundaries that we can put in place for them. And we're able to work within a structure that allows us to meet the needs of our clients while still employing a group of individuals who work better with structure and routine. So we work well with process, not just repetition. Some of our processes can be several thousand steps long. So they can be very complex processes, but they are a process. Now, while some of our tasks are several thousand steps long in duration and can take several hours to complete one of those tasks, we also do tasks that are 30 seconds in duration. And we do those 20, 30, 40,000 times a month. And they're very short snippets of repeated process that we do. We work best with guidelines, not just rules. So we can operate in gray areas. We do have decision criteria and decision trees for making decisions. If this, then that. If that, then this. And all types of different guidelines. Flow. We do work best on work that follows up a flow. So it is something that we're able to do throughout the entire month. Sometimes we will get clients that approach us and they'll say, hey, we've got this piece of work. It happens one day a month, and we think it'd be great work for you. While the work may be well suited for our team, the flow of the work is not great. So if we have to relearn the work each month and we're only able to do that work one day a month, there's a lot of relearning and reorienting that needs to take place. So the flow of the work is important to what it is that we do. And then we really work best where perfection is important. Our team members have an obsession to quality. They want to be right. They care about the details. They're looking at those things that are more challenging for a neurotypical person to catch. And if a client really cares about that level of perfection and quality, Autonomy Works is going to be a really great fit for them. If they're looking to get something done as quickly, as cheaply as possible, offshore is probably going to be a better option for them. That's going to be more affordable. But when accuracy and perfection matters, the Autonomy Works team is going to be the best choice for those clients. Before we move on to process and workflow, I'd like to pause there and see if anybody has any questions at all about the type of business or the type of work that we do for our clients before we move into kind of how do we work, and then how do we train, and how do we assess people we will talk about as we move along. But are there any questions that I can answer regarding the business model, the clients that we work with, or the type of work that we do for our clients?
Carrie, we do have a couple questions. One is, what level of function or how high functioning do the students need to be to work with Autonomy Works?
Great question. So we do require that individuals have basic computer skills to work with us, and that they are able to read at a third grade level. So our instructions are written at a third grade reading level, and all of our processes are written in step-by-step formats that do require an individual to be able to read those steps and then execute against them.
Excellent, thank you. Can you speak a little bit to, and maybe you're going to again, to your interview process and what your interview process looks like, since you are hiring individuals with ASD who do sometimes struggle with the interview process?
Absolutely. I'm going to hold that question because there's going to be some great slides and information coming up on
Perfect. I kind of figured you'd be getting to that. And then the last question I see here in my question box is, do the workers work in Downers Grove? Are they physically
Everyone does
Gotcha.
work in Downers Grove. Right now, everyone is working remotely. We do not plan to maintain a remote workforce. We really see a great deal of benefit of having individuals come to work each day. They're learning things like public transportation, interacting with coworkers, social skills, professional skills, all of those incredible gains that people get from being a part of a community and part of a work office environment. People aren't getting right now as they're working from home. So we are hopeful that once we are able to safely bring people back, our plan is to do so again and have everyone working at our office location in Downers Grove.
Excellent. And I did have one more question come in. Are there individuals who are teachers, instructors, leads for the team that guide the workers as they are going through their day?
Yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit kind of our process and our workflow on how we work. Teams are led by a team lead, and a team lead is really the individual who liaisons with the clients and helps the associates to get their work done successfully every day, answers questions that they may have. Additionally, we do have job coaches that are available to work one-on-one with individuals while they're learning something new, acquiring a new skill. Maybe they forgot their lunch and they're needing assistance with getting their lunch ordered. There are all types of situations and scenarios that do come up every day, and our job coaches are fantastic in helping to get those resolved.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on into our process and our workflow. So how do we work? All of our work is done on computers. Sometimes people will ask that, is it done? Is it physical work? Is it quiet work? All of our work is done on computers, and all of our individuals are sitting at a computer for the duration of their shift. So sometimes when people start with us, they're starting with a 3.5-hour shift, and they're building their way up to whatever type of situation for their shift is going to work best. For some people, that's working 3.5 hours a day, 4 days a week, because they're going to community college or they've got another physical job that they need to partake in. And for other people, they're working up to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and are very comfortable and able to do that, sitting quietly at their desk and maintaining their focus for extended periods of time. But all of the work that we do is done on computers, and it is all done by following step-by-step instructions that we put together based on the client's requirement for the work. We do follow a consistent structure. So we're doing repetitive, detail-oriented work that needs to be produced consistently and at a high level of quality. We're building things into our work processes like quality checks, stopping points where a peer may check another peer's work, places where we're able to validate that the work is being done correctly and that it's going to be continued to be done correctly throughout the process. Was one thing we found early on in the creation of kind of how we were going to work and how we were going to get work done was that we found it doesn't necessarily work best to let someone work for 4 hours at a stint without having check-in points, whether it's for themselves and they're looking to validate what they're doing, or a peer check or a lead check. But there are some helpful points in the work process where we're able to have the associate pause, look at what they're doing, and make sure that it's being done correctly before they move on and get to the end of a 4-hour task and then realize they made a mistake back in hour 1 and need to backtrack and correct that mistake. And for associates, to be successful, we try to ensure that everything follows consistent processes. So we do want to make sure that things that we're doing are documented, are written down, and that we are able to train individuals on doing that work the same way each time so that our clients can count on that consistent deliverable. We work on teams. So as I mentioned, right now we are all working remotely, but when we're in the office, we're organized into kind of pods or teams of people. There are anywhere from 6 to 12 people on a team. And the teams are organized by the type of work that the team does. So for example, we have a reporting and analytics team. The reporting and analytics team are associates that have really strong Excel skills. So they're able to manipulate data in spreadsheets. They're not associates who are overwhelmed by thousands and thousands of rows of data. They're able to manipulate that data, switch from one screen to the next. So they are definitely associates that have greater skills in Microsoft Excel who sit on our reporting and analytics team. We have another entire team of people who are focused on more of that visual and content QA, that proofreading for looking through thousands of websites a month and finding spelling errors like Nissan spelled with 3 S's, or finding pricing issues that come up where the dealer may be advertising a car for $1,000 less than they are eligible to advertise that car for. So that group of people is usually a bit more visual, and they're able to pay attention to the visual details and the content details on a website. We have another team of people who's organized more around work with data entry. So things like taking data from one platform and putting it into another. And they really have skills of the attention to detail, of making sure that they're typing addresses and numbers and things correctly so that there are no issues as they're transferring data from one platform or system to another. And then even another team that may fall more under our kind of miscellaneous category, they're working with Microsoft PowerPoint and Word to create different deliverables that clients are in need of. Our solution leads sit as the liaison between the clients and our teams, and they are a single point of communication for the clients to communicate with. So a lot of times our clients will ask us, well, who is it that I'm going to be communicating with? Is it going to be confusing? Am I going to have 10 different people on the team that I need to communicate with on a daily basis? And our answer to that is no. Our clients will always have a single dedicated point of contact to make things as easy and as streamlined on their part as possible. And that way, if the client has a new requirement, needs a new task done, needs something adjusted, they know exactly who to go to, and that solution lead is going to help to implement those changes across the team and to get their team members trained. So I will pause there again on kind of the how we work, and then we will go into some of the more interesting parts of the business. So it's not just the what we do and how we do it, but then the extraordinary people that we employ and how we recruit them and train them on the recruiting side. Any other questions that I can answer for you right now?
So we do have a couple questions that have come in. The first one being is, are there any plans to expand your business to other suburbs or to other areas of the state?
Great question. Not at this moment. So people ask us that. We've been getting a ton of outreach, especially after 60 Minutes. Can we build an office in New York? Can we build an office in California? What about the North Shore? What about the city? Right now, we are really focused on building this location to a self-sustaining model of probably about 100 people. And once we reach that size, we feel it should be a replicable unit that we could then open in another location for transportation purposes, or where business requirements are being met and where clients may want an office of their own or a kind of a hub closer to some of their central locations. But right now, our next growth phase is to grow our office location here to about 100 individuals.
Excellent. That's very exciting. The other question I have is, has been posed, is what about the students? You mentioned students who start with 3 hours, but what about the students that possibly need to work an hour at a time and then take a break, a 10-minute break, and then come back? Is that built into your structure?
Yes. So what we do is every 3.5 hours, individuals are given a 10-minute break. We do have to build people up to that at occasionally. So a lot of people that are coming to work for us, this is their very first job, and they don't have the endurance to sit in front of a computer and be focused for an extended period of time. We do require that people be able to sit for at least that 1 hour minimum in order to attend training with us. And if they're not quite there yet, those are things that we work with transition teachers and vocational centers to try and help build that skill, so that by the time someone is ready to come to training at Autonomy Works, they are able to sit and work for an hour at a time, take a break, sit and work for an hour at a time. And then we eventually build that to be about an hour and a half before they need a break and take that 10-minute break. So if somebody starts at 9:15 in the morning, they work until 10:30, they take a 10-minute break at 10:30, and then they work again until 12:30. At 12:30, they take a 1 hour break for lunch until 1:30, then they may work again until 3:30, take a 10-minute break. Maybe they end their shift at 3:30, or they continue on again and work until 5:30. So those breaks are staggered every hour and 30 to 2 hours throughout the day.
Excellent. Thank you for all those additional details. That is all the questions we have at this time.
Absolutely. Okay, well then we'll move on to the hiring and training parts. So people ask all the time, and I'm sure many of you are wondering, how does someone get hired at Autonomy Works? And we've spent a lot of time developing a process that allows individuals to show us their skills and not need to tell us about their skills. So it's no secret to anybody that individuals with autism are going to struggle with the interview process. They're going to have high anxiety when they come to a place for the very first time. And what we've tried to do is create a multiple paths to employment process that allows individuals to start and reduce anxiety from the moment they come into our building, the moment they start interacting with us. We are working to reduce anxiety so that by the time someone makes their way to our training program and ultimately to an employment opportunity with us, that anxiety has been decreased as much as possible, and we're able to see those skills come forth. So our hiring process begins with a job shadow experience. And we invite anyone and everyone to participate in a job shadow experience with us at Autonomy Works. And again, this is all pre-COVID, so we're in the process of making a virtual job shadow right now, but those are all still things that we are working through. But before COVID, transition programs come, groups of students come, individuals come, and a job shadow is all about just learning more about who we are and what we do. Individuals come to our office location and they spend about 90 minutes with us. During those 90 minutes, they're able to meet our trainer, they're able to meet our job coaches, they're able to meet myself. They hear a little bit about the business and Autonomy Works and what it is that we do. They get the opportunity to meet other associates and peers that are working here and ask them questions about their jobs and to see the work that they're actually doing at their computers. And then they actually have the opportunity to try a hands-on work set for themselves. So we've put together a data entry task where we show them what it is we want them to do, and then we give them instructions and guide them through them one step at a time to see how they interact with the computer and the instructions. At the end of that job shadow day, we learn some really great information, and lots of people will tell us, hey, this was awesome. I loved this work. These instructions were perfect. I can follow them. They made sense, and everything was really clear. And other people will tell us, I hated this. It was not for me. I want nothing to do with these instructions. I don't like sitting. It's too quiet in here. And that's really great information for us to have. If someone has done a, again, we're looking at that data entry set, but we're really looking at it just for those basic computer skills and for that kind of interest level. If somebody enjoyed it, if they want to come back, if they think they would be successful at the job, we will then invite them to come back to an assessment day with us. And an assessment day is a longer day. It's about a 6.5 hour experience with us. And from that point, we are doing and working on 4 different work sets with the associates during the assessment day. And we are providing individuals with feedback, both qualitative and quantitative feedback, that shows them how they did at that assessment day compared to others who are at that same point in the assessment day as they are, and then also where they fall compared to our current group of associates. So that's been really valuable information, and we've heard from many transition coordinators and teachers that sometimes just having that information to have conversations with parents and families that says, you know, hey, here's where your student fell. As you can see, 80% of the other people who did the assessment day had a greater success than your student, or your student's right up here in these computer skills, and this may be a good avenue and a good employment opportunity for your child or son or daughter to pursue. So we really do focus that day on getting to know people better, getting to have them try 4 different work sets kind of across the different types of work that we look at. We've built in some things like frustration tasks. What does someone do if their computer does not behave the way that they're expecting it to do? Do they move right past that task and don't pay any attention to it? Do they slam their computer and, you know, throw their pencil down at the ground? Do they raise their hand and ask for help? Do they just sit there and not advocate for help? Those are all things that we're paying attention to and looking for so that we know whether or not someone is really ready for an employment opportunity, what type of training they may need, and how we can progress them along our path to employment. After that assessment day and after we've gathered that data and provided that feedback, we invite individuals to either proceed directly into an apprenticeship with us, which is kind of a more direct path to employment, or we will invite them to attend our 4 to 6 week training program. We'll talk a little bit more on the later slides about what our training program entails, but there are multiple paths to going through that training program or going to an apprenticeship, both of which we hope result in long-term employment. By the time someone is participating in an apprenticeship with us, we have a 98% success rate at competitive long-term employment with Autonomy Works, and we attribute that basically back to our assessment day and our ability to quantify and qualify their performance throughout the program, that we know by the time they're reaching that apprenticeship, they are going to make a successful associate for us. So people will ask, what type of the time commitment, what does this look like? Our job shadow is about 2 hours long. The assessment day is about a 6.5 hour experience where people get to have lunch here, they play a game, they do a group activity, and they're working on multiple work sets. The training program that we offer here at Autonomy Works is 4 to 6 weeks. It is customized based on where people need to enter and the skills that they need to gain. It is it's an unpaid training program, so individuals are not paid to participate in that training program, but they are also not charged to participate in that training program. So we do not charge individuals a fee to participate in that training program. Individuals who progress and meet the benchmarks required in the training program will move on to our apprenticeship. During apprenticeship, they're going to be learning more client-specific skills and starting to train on work that we think they may do once they're hired. And we want to see how they perform in a bigger team ratio where they're now not in the training program. In the training program, there's maybe 1 to 3, 1 to 4. On our production floors, there's 1 to 8, 1 to 12. And we need to see how they adjust from that training program environment into the apprenticeship and before they move on to an employment opportunity. So sometimes people will say, well, what are the skills or what are the profiles of people who are going to go into your training program? I won't go through all the details here, but the slide will be available for you after the presentation. And really, it's if somebody is an expert and we really just need to train them on Autonomy Works specific vocabulary, vernacular, or our systems and processes, we would consider that individual an expert, and we're going to move them directly to an apprenticeship with us. Somebody who's emerging, they may need some basic skills training. They may need familiarity with software. They might say things like, well, I use the computer all day, but I play games on it. I don't really do anything else. Okay, so that tells us they probably have familiarity with how a computer works, how the mouse moves, how to turn on, how to type, how to do those things, but they probably don't have a lot of experience with using the computer in a real professional way. And so we know that we're going to need to train them not only on Autonomy Works specific skills, but basic computer skills and professional skills as well. And then right now, Autonomy Works is not best suited to train individuals who need extensive training. So people who need basic, in-depth basic skills training, they maybe don't know how to turn on a computer. They don't have any familiarity with computers. They're easily frustrated with technology. We are probably going to recommend that an individual with that skill requirement go and have some additional training outside of Autonomy Works before they come back to us and are ready for a competitive employment position. So we do train on 3 different types of categories in our training program. One of those is computer skills, Autonomy Works specific skills, and professional skills. So under the computer skills, we are doing training specifically in Microsoft software. So we use a lot of Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Access, Microsoft Excel, and we require individuals to become comfortable and familiar with those programs. They're going to learn how to respond to an email and how to draft an email. I can't tell you how many individuals we need to have create email addresses and teach things that, you know, when you receive an email from your company, you should reply to that email and confirm receipt on that email. We're working on all of those skills during the training program as well, so that the transition period, once someone is hired, they know all of those things that are going to be expected of them and what's going to make them a great employee. We're doing some Autonomy Works specific skills, so things like our vocabulary. We use a workflow tool, we use an intermessaging system, we have leads, we have a daily warm-up. There are some things that are specific to Autonomy Works that we want people to get familiar with during our training program. So again, it's not an adjustment when they are hired on. And then we're also focusing on some of those professional skills, things like advocating for help when needed. That's a really big skill, and we see many, many people come to us without that skill, and it really can make the difference between someone being successful and someone being unsuccessful if they have that ability to advocate for help and ask a question when something seems wrong or isn't right, and they're able to bring that to their attention of their supervisor and say, hey, I'm working on something, this doesn't seem quite right, can I get some assistance? Our training program follows a show me, guide me, support me model. So everything we do, we show individuals first how to do it. And we may show them 1, 2, 3, 4 times first how to do it. And then we'll we'll do a guide me, which means the facilitator and the trainee are working together. The trainee starts the task and the supervisor's reading them the instructions and walking through them one at a time, sitting there providing that one-on-one instruction. And then they move to the support me, where the trainer may be sitting back and watching them perform the task independently to make sure that they have mastered it before they're asked to do that independently. Our training program has multiple entry points. It spans 6 weeks in duration and ends with a typical 2-week apprenticeship. Sometimes the apprenticeship will need to be extended if someone is needing a little bit more time to master a client-specific task. We may extend the apprenticeship. If someone needs to come into the training program only to learn Autonomy Works specific skills, they've got all the computer skills they need to be successful, we may enter them at the 4-week mark of the training program and merge groups of people together based on their individual needs. Our training program is typically hosted 3 days a week for half days, and they're very highly structured. Every 15-30 minutes of the day has an activity ranging in one of those 3 categories that we're teaching people skills in, whether that be the computer skills, role-playing professional skills, or interacting with individuals on Autonomy Works specific skills. The training program is pretty comprehensive in the different modalities that we use to teach individual things. We're doing things like repeatable schedules, using instructions, using worksheets, training on the computer, working in small groups. Everything that's done in our training program is done to help individuals have a seamless transition into the working floors, the working production floors. So again, we want people, when they're finished with the training program and they move into employment, to barely notice a difference. Everything's going really well. You're learning the routines. You know what you're doing. You've got this. You've mastered that. You're excellent at that. You've learned the routine and you know what you're doing. And now we're going to teach you a piece of client work. Okay, great. You've learned 100 other things that you need to know, and all of that anxiety surrounding those 100 things of where do I put my lunch and what door do I enter and who am I supposed to check in with and what happens if I'm sick in the morning. We've gone through all of those different scenarios and situations that happen during the training program, so that by the time people have graduated from it and they're ready to really learn a client-specific task, that becomes a much easier endeavor for them because they can solely focus on learning that client task, and they've already become more comfortable with all of the other things surrounding an office job. Some people ask, what do your instructions look like? Our instructions do look like step-by-step detailed instructions. They, you can see it's very navigate to Microsoft Excel, open Microsoft Excel, select new from the menu, select blank workbook. The step-by-step instructions should guide an individual through each of the steps that they need to do to successfully complete the task. When someone is learning to master a new piece of client work, they will often heavily rely on the step-by-step instructions. Once they've become very familiar with the task, they may rely more on our cheat sheets or on our quality checklists as opposed to the step-by-step instructions. We do not see very many individuals needing to read the step-by-step instructions several weeks or months after they've learned to master the task, because there's so much of that they're already learning and they know how to get through. They really need more of an abbreviated version of a quality checklist or a cheat sheet that helps them do that task more efficiently compared to needing to read each individual step of the process each and every time they do the task. We do focus on those professional skills. We've created a whole set of code cards that walk individuals through situations that may happen in the office. You know, for an example, I have to do a new task. I've never done this. What am I supposed to do? I realize I've made 10 errors. How am I supposed to react to that? We've got code cards that help individuals to understand what our expectations are at Autonomy Works and how we would expect them to react to some of these situations. We've got some social narrative code cards. So what type of change are we experiencing? Is this a huge change? Is this a little change? What do we need to prepare ourselves for? And this type of narrative allows us all to really be using the same type of language and vocabulary when we're communicating, so that if we do need to communicate a medium level change, like we've got new computers at the office, our team does best when they know that, but they also do best to know that, hey, this is a medium level change. This is not a huge change. You still have a computer. Your computer's still going to do what you're expecting it to do, but it is going to be new and you are going to need to spend some time setting it up. So we do try to use consistent language and communication so that individuals know what to expect as we're communicating with them as things change throughout the days and the weeks. Some of our code card topics include, and people ask, hey, what are the biggest things that you're teaching in the training program? I would say the number one thing that we are teaching is asking for help. How does someone ask for help? When is it appropriate to ask for help? What are the steps they need to take before asking for help? How to stay focused at work. Sometimes people will ask me, Carrie, who's the most successful candidate, or who's been the most unsuccessful candidate? And I spent a lot of time thinking about that answer. The most unsuccessful candidates that we have had at Autonomy Works are individuals who do not have a willingness to work. We have been able to take individuals with very little computer skills, with no work experience, and we have been able to train them on client-specific tasks. But many, if not all of those individuals have a very strong willingness to work. On the flip side, we have had individuals with outstanding computer skills, but very low willingness to work, and we have been unsuccessful at training them to have that willingness to work. We've tried everything from what's your motivation to why should someone have a job, but if they are not motivated to work and they only want to work because their parent is telling them that they need to work, we have not found those individuals to be very successful in our workplace. Other things that we talk about is personal hygiene. People need to be dressed and showered, and they need to smell fresh when they're in the office. People need to be able to receive feedback from one another. They need to be able to initiate conversation. So if somebody says good morning, we do expect people to say good morning back to them. We work on those things, so those are not always natural attributes that people are bringing, but we do work on them and think it's an important skill for people to gain. And our motto here is kind of if it's not helpful to someone outside of Autonomy Works, we really shouldn't be allowing it inside of Autonomy Works. So if somebody is going to go and work in another company and they're doing something that others may think is obnoxious or unacceptable, we do not accept those things at Autonomy Works. We hold people to extremely high standards. We hold them to quality standards and productivity standards, and really hold them accountable for the quality of their work and their behavior in the workplace. We've got some comic strip conversations as well to keep things fun. We do some role playing and actions around those. Hey, what should I do? Should I say this? Should I say that? How does it work? We make sure that people understand those clear expectations and what it is that they should be doing. Hey, what happens if I made a mistake? What happens if I can't log into my computer? What happens if I can't access the workflow tool? What is expected of me? And we want everyone at Autonomy Works to know what is expected of them. People should not be guessing. They don't need to wonder if they're doing a good job or if they're meeting expectations. They should clearly know what the expectations are, and we help to communicate to them with direct and clear communication so that they're able to be successful and don't need to try to interpret what it is that we are expecting from them. And then the bigger piece that we're doing throughout the training program as well is providing some of that qualitative and quantitative feedback that I mentioned early on. So here you can see an example of our formal performance evaluation. And this has evaluation against some of those professional skills and then some of the computer specific skills as well, things like productivity and accuracy. And people are getting this feedback every couple of weeks so that they know how they're performing and whether they're eligible to move on to the next stage of the training program with us. Before moving to team management, we covered a ton of material there on kind of our training, recruiting, and hiring process. Are there any questions that I can answer for you on that topic?
So yes, we have quite a few questions coming in here. So how will the hours affect their Social Security income, time, pay, and rules? Do you have any insight into that?
We have several of our individuals who are on Social Security restrictions. Those individuals are able to work about 25 hours with us each week, and we do hold at that threshold so that they're able to receive their full benefits. We have other team members who choose to work more than the 25 hours, and their benefits are reduced. I don't have the exact formula for that, but they are reduced in respect to how much they're earning over that income threshold.
Excellent. Do you have, or is there any cost to the employee's family to
There is
the
no
employees.
cost to the employee's family to go through our training program. We are partnered with the Division of Rehabilitation Services. And so we do ask that individuals who participate in our training program have an active and open DRS case. And DRS does help to fund our training program.
Fantastic. How many people do you end up hiring out of the individuals that apply?
Great question. We're really getting to those numbers pre-COVID, and now lots of that has been thrown. I would say if we start with a job shadow that hosts 6 people, we will typically end up hiring 2 of those 6 people.
Excellent. And then what is the typical age range for your associates? I know we saw some pictures of them, but what are the age ranges?
Yeah, our typical associate right now, I would say, is about 25 years old. Most people are coming out of the transition programs and working for us. They typically are coming to us with Autonomy Works as their first job. So they may be right at that 22, 23-year-old mark, but we do require them to be available at least 4 days a week during normal standard business hours of 8:30 to 5:30. So they have to at least have that availability. Sometimes people will come to us at 16 and they say, hey, we want to work. We want to, we're going into transition, but we only have 2 hours in the afternoon available to work. That's not going to be a great fit for us in regards to someone's schedule being so limited.
Very good point. Very good. Last question I have on this area is, are the wages that are paid a sustainable wage? Would associates be able to live on their own with
Yeah,
their?
great question. So we are working towards being able to pay individuals a living wage in DuPage County, which I believe is going to go up to, so right now minimum wage has gone up to $11 as of January 1st, and the living wage is sitting at $14 an hour in DuPage County. We right now pay 50 cents over minimum wage to individuals who have been here for 6 months or longer, but we do not yet, we're not a profitable organization. So we are still working towards being able to increase that margin so that we can pay people a living wage.
Excellent. Those are all the questions at this time.
Excellent. And I will move on. We're almost there to the end. Some people have asked, hey, team management, what are you doing to manage a team of people with autism? And I like to answer that question by not much more than people should be doing to manage a team of people without autism. But sometimes that's not entirely true in organizations, but we really, really do pride ourselves on clear and direct communication. We do not do things like compliment sandwiches, like, hey, you know what? You're doing a really good job, but you made 3 mistakes on this task today, and I hope you can do better next time, but keep up the good work. What did you just say to me? Did you say I'm doing a good job? Did you say I made mistakes? Did you say I should keep up what I'm doing? That messaging is really inconsistent and unclear and not direct. And so we work to frame our feedback and our communication in ways that I think sometimes others may think of as harsh, but it is clear, and it helps our employees to feel a sense of, I understand what's expected of me. Everybody's really clear. So we would say, hey, you made 3 mistakes today. Our expectation is tomorrow that you do not make those same 3 mistakes. And we want to make sure that you're reading the instructions so that you do not repeat those mistakes again tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, if the individual does a great job on that, we're absolutely going to praise them and say, hey, you did a great job on this today. There were no errors. But we try to eliminate that confusing, you're doing a good job, but you made mistakes, but that's okay. Don't worry. Not a big deal. We try to stay away from some of those conflicting messages and really just let people know what it is that we expect from them. So many of you know strengths and abilities of people with autism. They're bringing incredible strengths and talents to the table. We want to reduce anxiety and unlock those potentials so that they can deliver for our clients. They are bringing things like excellent memory, factual knowledge, high levels of concentration, honesty to a fault, loyalty, and direct communication. I always like to reference, I remember early on, 7 or 8 years ago, one of our associates, I asked, hey, Ryan, are you accessing the client systems outside of the office? And he told me, well, yes, I am, Carrie. I said, okay, please stop talking. Please don't say anything more. But that level of direct communication and honesty is always humbling. So we do try to help people manage through those things in the workplace as well. There are some challenges, and we build our systems and processes and tools to help individuals to be most successful. We want people to understand social interactions and how some of that nonverbal communication works. We provide people with written agendas and emails beforehand. We require that our associates respond to each and every email that gets sent from our company to them. We at first said, hey, there's some you have to respond to, some you don't. We found that was a really challenging thing for our team members to understand the difference between. And so we moved to, unless this email specifically states you do not need to reply to it, you should at least confirm receipt. If the email has a question in it, you need to answer that question. And we let them know what the expectations are on each of those individual pieces of communication that we're sending home. We have a sensory room, so we're able to provide kind of a dark, quiet room with bean bags and sensory toys. We've got a break room for lunch, and the associates like to play video games before work and hang out. Some of them walk around the building together at lunch. We've seen individuals forming friendships and having each other over, going to football games together, traveling to the mall. There's been some really incredible social things that have taken place here over the years. And again, really looking forward to having those back once we're able to safely do so. Strategies for managing the workforce. Again, we use literal language. We're direct and prescriptive. We're concise. If we can show somebody what we mean, that's always preferred. We will show them. We will have it written down. We will provide them with the information that they need. We'll check for understanding. Hey, can you explain to me what I just said? Or hey, can you just show me that task one more time? Let me make sure we've got it down. Written and visual supports for individuals. And we want to enable people with technology. So we build our technology and proprietary systems here to enable people to do their jobs in the most efficient and productive ways possible. We document the expectations. People know how fast it should take or how quickly they should be able to do a task. If someone is doing a task that everyone else is doing in 10 minutes and it's taking them 30 minutes, we're going to have them on a plan to be able to reduce that time. Okay, hey, let's start this week. We're going to try to do it in 18 minutes. Let's see what we can do. Let's see where we need to improve. Let's see what skills we need to work on to help get you down to that target benchmark of 10 minutes per task. We have clearly documented performance regulations, ongoing routine assessments, and concrete examples. And then we do pay quite a bit of attention to individuals' levels of tolerance and what works best for them. If working an 8-hour shift does not work best for someone, we don't want them to work an 8-hour shift. Everyone has different and unique situations. We have one young man who travels 2.5 hours a day when he comes into work, and therefore, if he works an 8-hour shift, his work days 12, 13 hours long. It's too long, and so that does not work out well or best for him. So we want to make sure that we're paying attention to things and may say to somebody, it seems like after lunch, you have a hard time sitting still. Do you think that's true? Do you find yourself more distracted in the afternoon? Okay, what do you think is going to work best for you? Rather than one 10-minute break, would you like to take 2 5-minute breaks? Or would you like to be someone who only works until 12:30 and maybe a more physical job in the afternoon is a better fit for you? There is no one solution here. We don't claim to be the one solution or the only solution for everybody, but we do try to work with people to find a solution that does work best for them. In general, as we're talking to other businesses and other companies, people are asking us, hey, what have you learned? How are you assessing talent? We ask that people please ignore the resume. Many of our associates are coming to us. They don't have work experience. They don't have 3 pages on a resume or applicable resume information or experiences. Maybe they've had some vocational training experiences, but they need the opportunity to learn and to showcase their skills. Ask about interests or something that the individual is going to be able to talk to you about. They're going to have a much better time communicating with you on that. Interview in phases, giving individuals opportunities to reduce anxiety in between each time they're meeting with you. Eliminate any surprises that you can. Things like, what is the building going to look like when I enter? Do I need a security code? Who's going to meet me at the door? Where should I go when I walk in? Any of those things that you can help people prepare for ahead of time is going to help them to be more successful in an interviewing or talent assessing environment. And then a trial period does work very well for most people, and that's really where we get to see people shine. Some of those best practices in communication: repetition, repeating key points, using somebody's name first so that they know you're talking to them. I can tell you how many of our solution leads will start talking to associates and they don't preface that, hey, excuse me, John, I wanted to let you know this. They'll just say, hey, we've got this change, blah, blah, blah. John's in the zone. John's not paying attention to anything that you're saying unless you're specifically calling John out and you're letting him know that you're talking directly to him. So asking the associate to clarify what it is that you've said and making sure that we understand that we have different audiences and different skill sets. Paying attention to nonverbal communication, active listening. We do try to avoid open-ended questions here. Many of our associates find stress in questions like, what do you think about, or what's your opinion on, or even what is your favorite something. We try to structure some of our office place communication in more concrete ways so that everybody has an easier time participating. And then of course we've got the literal thinkers, and we try not to say things that we don't mean or mean things that we don't say, so that we can make sure that everybody's on the same page at all times. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you guys so much for bearing with me. I know that there was tons of information there, and hopefully wasn't too bad for you to listen to, but happy to answer anything that I can here in our last few minutes.
So we do have a couple questions that have come in. Are students who utilize speech devices appropriate for the program?
As long as they are able to communicate, a speech device is not a problem.
And then someone's asking if they can get a hold of you directly. Can we share out your email?
Absolutely, yes. It is on the first introductory slide. My email is there. That's the easiest way to reach me directly.
All right. Perfect. And then do you pair, or do you have any plans to pair with a transitional program?
We are always, we love transition programs. I think transition programs, you guys are the real heroes of all this training to work and getting people up and operational and prepared to work in jobs, and absolutely love working with transition programs to offer everything from those job shadow experiences to training curriculum that you can work on in the classroom, to sending guest speakers out to your classroom, and just anything that we can do to collaborate. Our goal is to employ and help as many people as we possibly can. And if there are ways that we can successfully do that together, we want to do that.
Fantastic. And this last question is kind of open-ended. Can you recommend, or are you aware of any other jobs? Do you provide referrals for individuals who cannot read or operate a computer? And I can also open that up to Nikki and Carissa as our project individuals on the call.
Absolutely, and that is one of the main reasons that we have partnered with DRS over the years as one of our main sourcing referrals, is because we know Autonomy Works is not going to be a great fit for everyone, and not everyone who comes to us is going to be most successful in a computer job or at a third grade reading level. And so our partnership with DRS does open up doors to many other employment opportunities that individuals may have access to. and DRS can then help the individual to facilitate, connect them with local organizations, connect them with job training services, placement services, and that way we're not just saying, hey, we're not the right place for you, good luck. We are saying, here's another resource that you can use, and hopefully they will be able to help to provide you some guidance on the journey.
Excellent. And resources are always so very important. One last question here is, what is the role, and you've kind of spoken to this a little bit, but what is the role of DRS, and why must the case be open? Is this considered an OJE?
So it's considered an, I don't believe it's considered an OJE, although I'm not entirely positive how they've classified it. DRS provides us with reimbursement on a fee-for-service basis for the training program. So if an individual is participating in our training program, DRS is helping to fund an hourly rate that provides a trainer and a job coach to put on that program, which allows us to be able to train and hire more people without that coming directly from the business cost.
Fantastic. I know I speak for everyone on the call. Thank you so much, Carrie. This has been such a great webinar. This will be recorded and has been recorded, and I really appreciate you taking the time today to talk with all of us and to share this amazing program and this amazing opportunity that exists for our students on the spectrum. So thank you all so much. Awesome. There's tons of fantastic information, awesome information that have come in. So thank you so much for taking your time and sharing with us today. And we've learned a lot. It's been a great experience.
Absolutely. Thank you guys all so much for your time today, and happy to follow up with anybody if there are individual questions. Really appreciate all of you, and looking forward to connecting.
Fantastic. Thank you all. Everyone be safe and be well. And we'll see you next month for our looking at parents and parents' engagement with the transition process. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.